As the last queen of France before the French Revolution, Marie Antoinette is often remembered for her lavish lifestyle and tragic death. Yet, her role as a mother is frequently overlooked. She bore 4 children and adopted another 4, creating a family of 8 young royals. What became of these forgotten children after the fall of their famous parents? Join us as we delve into the heartbreaking stories of Marie Antoinette's offspring, shedding light on the hidden tragedy of France's last queen. The story of Marie Antoinette. Marie Antoinette, who was 14, and Louis Auguste, the Dauphin of France, who was 15, were married by proxy on the 19th of April, 1770. This union symbolized peace between Austria and France after Empress Maria Theresa of Austria agreed to marry her daughter to the eldest grandson of Louis XV of France. The marriage was intended to strengthen both countries' defenses against Great Britain and Prussia. 2 days after, the youthful pair tied the knot in a face-to-face ceremony at the Palace of Versailles. Following the tradition for royal unions during that era, they underwent the custom of bedding, where they were put to rest together with the expectation of consummating their marriage. However, this did not occur for a number of years. This delay tarnished their reputation as they ascended to the throne as King and Queen of France in 1774. It took 3 years for them to welcome their first biological child. In the meantime, Marie Antoinette's longing for a child allegedly resulted in the peculiar tale of their initial adopted child. In 1776, a unique incident occurred when a carriage was abruptly halted near the town of Lucienne, where a young boy named François-Michel Gagné narrowly escaped an accident. The coachman quickly brought the carriage to a stop and made sure the child was safe and sound. As the young boy's grandmother hurried towards him, the queen surprisingly emerged from her carriage with open arms. Marie Antoinette declared that the young boy was meant to be by her side, sent to comfort her until she bore a child of her own. Inquiring about his background, she discovered that his mother had passed away the previous winter, leaving 5 young siblings in the care of their grandmother. The queen proposed to take François-Michel in as her own and pledged to provide financial assistance for his brothers and sisters. The grandmother, taken aback by the generous offer, accepted. François-Michel's brother was given music lessons, and his sisters were provided with dowries as part of their family arrangement. Despite being involved in the personal lives of the French royals, Armand never truly felt at home in court. He initially brought happiness to the queen, but her attention shifted towards her first biological child, Marie-Thérèse, born in 1778, leaving Armand feeling neglected. As time passed, his relationship with his adoptive parents became strained, leading him to develop Republican sympathies during the French Revolution. Ultimately, he joined the revolutionaries and tragically met his end at the Battle of Jemappes in 1792. Marie Antoinette experienced a significant change in mindset with the birth of Marie-Thérèse in 1778. Even though she had hoped for a son, reports indicate that she warmly received her daughter. She encouraged Marie-Thérèse to interact with children from lower social classes and to donate her toys to those in need. King Louis XVI was also a loving father who often spoiled his daughter. Marie-Thérèse enjoyed a happy childhood until the outbreak of the French Revolution disrupted her family's life. As tensions escalated, the royal family encountered growing animosity. Marie Antoinette became a focus of discontent due to anti-Austrian feelings. political manipulation and economic challenges. The storming of the Bastille on July 14, 1789, signaled the start of their downfall. In October, a furious crowd invaded Versailles, prompting the family to seek refuge in the Tuileries Palace in Paris. Despite their efforts to flee to a pro-monarchy sanctuary, they were unsuccessful and were brought back to Paris with escorts. The family was locked up in the Temple, a medieval fortress, on August 13, 1792. The ordeal was especially traumatic for young Marie-Thérèse, who was just 10 at the time. Her father was then executed by guillotine on January 21, 1793, leaving her with her mother, her Aunt Madame Elizabeth, and her younger brother, Louis Charles. Louis Charles was taken away from his family on July 3, 1793, and entrusted to a cobbler named Antoine Simon, forever separating him from his loved ones. The three remaining women of the family made desperate attempts to prevent the men from taking him away, crying out and trying to grab hold of him, but their efforts were in vain. Marie Antoinette was forcibly removed on August 2 to face her destiny, followed by Madame Elizabeth, who met her end on May 10, 1794. Marie-Thérèse was left all alone, unaware of the tragic fate of her mother and aunt, until more than a year later, in August 1795, when she was finally informed of their deaths. She was overwhelmed with sorrow. It wasn't until the night before her 17th birthday, on December 18, 1795, that she was able to leave behind the horrors of her past and head to Vienna, where her cousin, Holy Roman Emperor Francis II, resided. However, her suffering was far from over. In June 1799, Marie-Thérèse married her cousin Louis-Antoine, the Duke of Angoulême, and they relocated to Buckinghamshire in Britain at Hartwell House. Despite not having any children, the couple seemed content, and Britain provided a warm environment for the French royals. However, even though they were welcomed in Britain, it still felt like exile for Marie-Thérèse. She experienced a mix of yearning for her lost home and sorrow over the memories of the past. By 1814, Napoleon Bonaparte abdicated, bringing an end to Marie-Thérèse's years of exile. She returned to France with Louis-Antoine and her uncle Louis XVIII by her side. The Bourbon Restoration, also known as the royal family's return, was briefly disrupted in 1815 by the 100 Days, Napoleon's unsuccessful attempt to regain power in France. The restoration continued until 1830, during which time Marie-Thérèse's father-in-law, Charles X, ruled with ultra-royalist beliefs that created a divide between the royals and common people. Charles X was forced to step down on August 2nd, followed quickly by his son Louis-Antoine, who briefly held the title of King of France for 20 minutes before also abdicating. For those 20 minutes, Marie-Thérèse held the title of Queen of France before they were forced into exile once again and sought refuge in Britain. Marie-Thérèse, who spent many years moving between the homes of her relatives in Europe and outlived her husband, passed away from pneumonia on the 19th of October, 1851, at the age of 83. When referring to her grave in France, she is honored as the Queen Dowager of France, recognizing her short reign. It is important to note that she had siblings. So what happened to the other children of Marie Antoinette? The other biological children of Marie Antoinette. Marie Antoinette's first biological son, Louis Joseph, was born on October 22, 1781, at the Palace of Versailles, when women were not allowed to become queen in France. Louis Joseph was celebrated as the Dauphin of France, the future ruler. His arrival brought much happiness to the family and he shared a close bond with his parents and sisters. Despite being a cheerful and bright child, Louis Joseph struggled with poor health from an early age. At 3 years old, he fell ill with a series of fevers, prompting his family to move him to the Château de la Muette near Paris for better care. Thankfully, he recovered from his illness, and a year later, in 1785, he was vaccinated against smallpox and returned to the chateau for a rest. In 1786, the fevers resurfaced once more, but this time the royal family chose to disregard the symptoms. At this point, it was observed that the young prince had difficulty walking, possibly due to a curved spine. A metal corset was used to address this issue, but by 1788, his fevers worsened. Although the symptoms pointed to tuberculosis, the true nature of the illness remained elusive. Hence, on June 4, 1789, Louis Joseph of France passed away at the tender age of 7, leaving his family in anguish. Subsequently, his wet nurse, Geneviève Barbier, was later accused of potentially transmitting the disease to the young prince through her breast milk. His demise coincided with the convening of the Estates General, a precursor to the French Revolution, foreboding more sorrow to follow. After the death of Louis Joseph, his younger brother Louis Charles inherited the title of Dauphin of France. Born in March 1785, Louis Charles received the typical upbringing of a royal child, with a governor and royal household providing care. Despite rumors at court suggesting he was the illegitimate son of Marie Antoinette and the Swedish Count Axel von Fersen, most historians now question this theory due to lack of evidence. In 1789, the relocation of his family to the Tuileries Palace brought about increased tension and decreased privacy for everyone. Louis Charles's mother was restricted to seeing her 2 children under constant surveillance, with her hands restrained behind her back. The trio was subjected to searches for any hidden letters passed between them. Nonetheless, the situation worsened in 1792 when they were transferred to Temple Tower. It wasn't long before Louis Charles was separated from his family. After his father's death, supporters of the French monarchy declared him as Louis XVII. This concerned the revolutionaries, leading to his separation from his family on December 11th. It marked the final farewell between them. Antoine Simon, a cobbler, was appointed as his caretaker. Stories began spreading among royalists about the mistreatment of the young boy, although there is scarce evidence to support these claims. Marie-Thérèse recounted in her memoirs that Antoine was known as the monster Simon, hinting that there might be some truth behind the rumors. Foreign secretaries from Britain and Spain received disturbing reports from spies indicating that the prince had been violated by prostitutes in a plot to frame the queen. According to accounts from his sister Marie-Thérèse, the young prince was also subjected to physical beatings by his captors. On October 6, a group of French officials and advocates went to see the boy, obtaining a signed statement from him, accusing his mother and aunt of violating him. It is hard to fathom the distress of the young boy. Despite claims from visitors who went to the prison, there were no witnesses to the event, leading to suspicions that a scheduled visit may have obscured the reality of the situation. According to restoration historians, a narrative emerged suggesting that Louis Charles endured confinement in a squalid, dimly lit room with bars on the windows, relying on food being handed to him through the bars for sustenance. For a period of 6 months, no one set foot in his room. Paul Barras, a French political figure, paid a visit post-July 27, 1794. And although he acknowledged the neglect the boy endured, he did not make any reference to a room that was dark, dirty, and enclosed with bars. Louis Charles may have been confined to a room, but there is no evidence to suggest he was purposely deprived of food or left in unsanitary conditions. One fact that can be confirmed is the silence of Louis Charles. Ever since he signed the document accusing his mother and aunt of mistreatment, he has not spoken a word. In early 1795, Louis Charles became sick and doctors were consulted. Unfortunately, on June 8th, the young boy passed away at the age of 10. A French surgeon named Philippe Jean Pelletan, who conducted the autopsy, concluded that the prince died from tuberculosis. The surgeon took out Louis Charles' heart, a tradition for preserving the hearts of French royalty, covertly. The heart went from one owner to another until it was laid to rest in the Basilica of Saint-Denis on June 8, 2004. Louis Charles' final resting place was a simple, unmarked grave at Sainte-Marguerite Cemetery, where he was buried on June 10th. Marie Antoinette's last biological offspring was Sophie Hélène Béatrice, who was born on July 9, 1786. Regrettably, her life was cut short as she passed away before reaching her first birthday. Although Sophie was born healthy and a decent size, she fell ill, likely with tuberculosis, a disease that had also affected her two older brothers. Tragically, at just 11 months old, the young princess passed away on June 19, 1787, after enduring a week of seizures. But did you know she adopted more children? Her other adopted children. The French king and queen's children did not meet their end there. In 1787, a French official named Chevalier de Boufflers arrived at court with a unique present for the queen, a parrot and a young boy from French Senegal who had been held in slavery. The boy, known as Jean Amilcar, was born in approximately 1781 and was just 6 years old when he was introduced at the French court. Marie Antoinette promptly freed the young boy, making arrangements for his baptism. He was then formally taken in by the French king and queen as their adopted son. The royal couple had a tradition of caring for foster children alongside their responsibilities, but unlike the rest of his foster siblings, Jean did not grow up in the palace. Instead, the queen made arrangements for him to receive an education at a boarding school in Saint-Cloud, taking care of his expenses even during the turmoil of the French Revolution. Her financial assistance for him came to an end when she was imprisoned and could no longer afford to continue supporting him. The decision not to bring up Jean at court with his foster siblings has led to suspicions of prejudice. Yet it is worth mentioning that not all of Marie Antoinette's adopted children were raised within the palace walls. The motive behind this choice remains a mystery. When the queen could no longer afford to support Jean's education, he was dismissed from school. However, he was taken in by one of his teachers, Quentin Belden, who sought assistance from the French government to fund Jean's education. Jean, showing promise as an artist, received government assistance to attend the Lycée Academy in Paris in 1796. Unfortunately, he passed away in a hospital in Paris during the same year, vanishing from historical documentation thereafter. Ernestine, Marie Antoinette's third adopted child, resided at Versailles prior to being formally taken in by the royal family. She was born as Marie Philippine Lambriquet on July 31, 1778, to Jacques Lambriquet and Marie Philippine Juarez, who served as a chambermaid. Even at a young age, Ernestine was selected to be the playmate and friend of Marie Thérèse, the daughter of the Queen. Ernestine passed her days in the company of the princess, going back to her family in the evenings, as was the tradition to instill humility in noble or royal offspring. Gossips circulating at the court hinted at an uncanny likeness between Ernestine and Louis XVI, sparking speculation about her possible illegitimate connection to him. These rumors were likely fueled by her physical similarities to Marie-Thérèse. Marie Antoinette made sure that both girls received fair treatment. Before 1788, Ernestine's mother passed away while her father was still alive. On November 9th of that year, Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI officially welcomed Ernestine into their family. The king granted her a pension of 12,000 livres, and she was treated equally to her siblings in private. Despite this, she did not hold an official title or receive public recognition as a royal daughter. At court, she was simply known as Marie-Thérèse's companion. Ernestine had two biological siblings who were supported by the royal family through financial assistance, but they did not live with them like Ernestine did. During the Revolution, Ernestine accompanied the family to the Tuileries Palace and stayed there until 1791, when she was sent to her biological father, who was living safely in the countryside. When the royal family's escape attempt failed and they were brought back to Paris, Ernestine reunited with them there. Ernestine's biological father, Jacques, was arrested and eventually put to death on July 9, 1794, for his ties to the royal family. By September 2, 1796, she had reached the age where she no longer required guardians and was granted permission to reside independently and handle her own matters. On December 7, 1810, she experienced a moment of joy as she wed Jean-Charles Germain Prépillon, a widower, using her given name Marie-Philippine Lambriquet. The reason behind her decision to revert to her birth name remains a mystery, leaving us to ponder whether it was a way to distance herself from her adopted persona and its associated memories, or simply a precautionary measure. Regrettably, her brief period of joy came to an end. At the age of 35, on the 30th of December 1813, she passed away in Sartène under mysterious circumstances. Speculation arose that she may have been the true Marie-Thérèse, as she bore a striking resemblance to the missing royal. Rumors circulated that the Marie-Thérèse associated with the Bourbon Restoration was actually Ernestine, who had taken her place. The genuine Marie-Thérèse was believed to have vanished to Hildburghausen, where she was known as the Dark Countess due to her secrecy. Upon her death, she was hastily laid to rest. Yet, a DNA examination conducted in 2013 on the remains of the Dark Countess disproved these tales. Marie Antoinette decided to bring another child into her family, this time as a companion for Louis Charles. This child, Jean-Louise Victoire, was born in 1787 to a servant in the royal household and had two older siblings. Despite the uncertain future facing the royal family in 1790, Marie Antoinette took in Jeanne and her siblings after learning of their parents' deaths within months of each other. While the older sisters were sent to a convent with all expenses covered, Jeanne, who was renamed Zoe, remained at court to play with Louis Charles. Just 2 years later, at the age of 5, Zoe joined her sisters at the convent shortly before the royal family's failed attempt to flee to Varennes in 1791. Like Jeanne and Marie Carre, the financial support for the children stopped when Marie Antoinette was incarcerated. Their future remains a mystery. Contrary to the negative portrayal of Marie Antoinette post-French Revolution, she was known for her compassion and maternal instinct towards many children, not just her own offspring. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.